I once begged, once forgave, once naively believed that if I loved enough, everything would return to the way it was. But now I understand. Those who are used to living in the dark will never know what light feels like. Celeste Thorne has returned not as the fragile woman who once collapsed in despair. Loss taught her how to stand. Betrayal taught her how to see people for who they really are. And this second chance is to end everything. The final episode, The Light Behind the Door, is not just a battle between right and wrong, love and hate, but a declaration from a woman once buried under the ashes. To survive hell, I don't need a miracle. I'll light my own fire and walk through. Ryan looked as if the life had been drained from him. He dropped to his knees, then collapsed on the cold floor of the interrogation room like a heap of mud, no will left to resist. The two officers on either side didn't even react in time. They just watched him fall silent. I stared at the scene emotionless. Perhaps in another life I would have rushed to help him up. But today there was only silence and an ending. Ryan had been by my side for 20 years in the search for my daughter. A quiet man, loyal, never doubting me, never leaving me alone through the darkest nights. I had believed in him, believed that two people bearing wounds could love each other with something lasting. But I was wrong. Love isn't just about sharing pain. Love also requires courage. And he had none. Because when Lucas's first wife died, Ryan was part of it. One took her on a trip, the other sneaked into the house and tampered with the rice cooker. That's how Lucas stayed clean, above suspicion. After I married Lucas, he let Ryan get close to me, seduced me, then used that as evidence of infidelity to pressure me into buying life insurance for him. But I didn't fall for it. Later, when I had a child, perhaps because I was sincere, Lucas briefly wanted to live decently, but over time, he got bored and in the end, realized money mattered more. To him, killing our daughter was easier than killing me. In my past life, just before I breathed my last, Ryan confessed everything. He cried, apologized, said that if he could go back, he would tell the truth and wouldn't let me carry all the injustice alone. But life doesn't offer second chances so easily. And when I truly had the chance to go back, Ryan still chose silence. He thought he loved me deeply, but he didn't realize it was that very silence that wasted my entire life. I used to think, if only I had known Lucas's true face back then, who had helped him murder his first wife and build this illusion of love, then everything would have been different. I wouldn't have fallen into that pit. This time, I didn't save Ryan. I let him fall. Let him understand, if you truly want to make amends, take Lucas down with you. When we walked out of the station, Lucas still held my hand, hugging Melody like a responsible father. We were playing the roles of a reunited family. But I knew, the moment we reached the garage, that mask would fall. And it did. Lucas slammed the car door shut, rage bursting like an underground wave. Celeste, you did it on purpose, didn't you? You let me overhear you and Ryan, led me right to him so I'd hand him over myself. You wanted him to... He paused, realizing he'd said too much. I gave a faint smile. Is there anything I don't already know? He narrowed his eyes. Maybe for the first time, Lucas was afraid of me. Just then, Camille arrived to pick up me and Melody. Lucas looked at me, trying to sound calm. Are you really leaving? I looked at him one last time. I don't want her to see you in handcuffs. Let her keep at least one last good memory. I told Camille to take the child to the car first. Then I turned to Lucas with a voice as cold as ice. You tricked me first. Don't blame me for being cruel. You're buried in debt. I don't just want a divorce, I want out of the garage business. By law, gambling debt isn't part of marital property. If not for my past life, I'd still think of him as a hard-working, reliable man. Who knew he was a seasoned gambler, a liar through and through? You? He snarled, grinding his teeth. I turned away and got in the car. Melody leaned on my shoulder and whispered, "Mom, are we really not going back to Dad?" I stroked her hair, my eyes stinging. "Daddy's going far away. It'll be a long time before we see him again." I once believed Ryan could carry the burden of our past. But cornered, he too chose the safest path. He claimed he kidnapped Melody for revenge, not to harm her, earning him a lighter sentence. But he didn't dare admit to helping murder Lucas's first wife. Lucas knew and called me right after. "Celeste, you calculate everything, but you still can't predict people. In the end, people protect themselves first. So what if you know everything? No evidence means I'm still clean as snow." "Oh?" I replied coolly. "I'm filing for divorce." Lucas chuckled darkly. "Divorce means nothing. You have a child. You'll never escape me." What he didn't know was this time, I had no intention of running. Men, when stripped of their core advantage, go mad. Now that Lucas's name was tied to murder, gambling, insurance fraud, it would be hard for him to remarry, let alone profit from insurance. I moved out of Camille's place to avoid dragging her into this. But she insisted, "We've been friends for over 10 years. Friends share burdens." I patted her shoulder. "Don't worry, I know how to handle him." I moved into a new development on the outskirts of Rosepine Grove, quiet, secluded, off the radar. Not 3 days in, Lucas put up a huge apology banner outside the entrance, sobbing and wailing to passers-by about being a miserable husband. Said he was betrayed by a friend, brought a wolf into the house which led to his daughter being kidnapped. Now the criminal's caught, he repents and wants his family back. Clearly, he was trying to use the heartbroken husband image to salvage his reputation. As long as he insisted I still had feelings for him, the court would hesitate over divorce and asset division. He wanted me to either give up everything or return to live with a wolf in sheep's clothing. Lucas thought he knew me well, that I was soft on the outside but hard inside, that even if I fell to the bottom, I'd have the will to start over. He knew I valued loyalty, hated seeing friends hurt because of me. Aside from harassing me constantly, he also went to Camille's design firm, claiming she was jealous of my happiness and sabotaged our marriage. He even went to the landlord, saying renting to me robbed his daughter of her father. He calculated that sooner or later I would give in. But this time, I didn't choose to endure. I chose to appear weak to gain sympathy. I live-streamed crying, talking about being stalked and threatened. I even wrote a will, saying that if one day I disappeared, it was because I couldn't survive living with someone like Lucas. Lucas wasn't fazed. He once said, "You think I'm scared of the internet? Every scandal fades. Worst case, I'll get some work done on my face. Move states plenty of women will still fall for me." I replied softly, "Then come, bring the divorce papers. We can negotiate terms." I waited all night. Lucas never showed. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window. I sat at the dining table, my tea still warm. A strange peace settled over me. Lucas was dead. He'd been murdered right at the alley entrance to my new home by a serial killer from a recent string of crimes, one quick, clean slice to the throat. Police cordoned off the scene. A street cleaner was the first to find him. I was called to identify the body. Looking at that pale, lifeless face, I felt no sorrow. Just a quiet breath of relief escaping my chest. Finally, it was over. I lifted my gaze toward the crowd, and soon, I spotted a familiar figure. In my past life, I'd searched for him for 20 years. Not because he was so brutal or cunning, but because he lived so ordinarily. Everyone thought he was a good man. No one suspected he was a serial killer. I had to gather mountains of records to learn that all his victims had committed wrongs. A couple he killed had staged scams, once defrauded an immigrant worker out of money meant for his child's treatment. That child died without care. An old fruit vendor he killed had swallowed her grandson's compensation money, forcing the boy to wander the streets and freeze to death under a bridge. He killed for those who'd been wronged and couldn't find justice. I knew that around this time in my past life, he had lived here. After each murder, he vanished without a trace. He stood among the crowd for a while, then, finding nothing of interest, turned and walked away. There are people who, no matter how many chances you give, will always choose betrayal. But there are also those who, with just one chance to start again, will go to the ends of the earth to protect what matters most. Celeste didn't escape the darkness because someone pulled her out. She dug her own way out. One child saved, one lie shattered, a string of crimes exposed, and one woman who once collapsed in despair now stands stronger than ever. Thank you for staying with us until the very end of this journey. We'll meet again in another world, another life, where shadows may still linger, but hearts now know how to light the way.